Good evening, Hinton and Yellowhead County. My name is Sergeant Graham Gursky. I'm the Acting Detachment Commander of Hinton RCMP. I'm so very pleased to be here tonight to conduct our second town hall of 2021. This is an opportunity for me to provide the community an update on where we stand at midway point of our year for our community priority objectives. These were identified in consultation with you, our residents, our community partners, and our communities of Hinton and Yellowhead County. So I'll be providing an update tonight in regards to our priority initiatives. I have Hinton Corporal Ryan Jurgens with me as well, of Hinton General Investigation Section. He's going to talk a little bit about what that unit does, some of their activities, and also some crime prevention tips in relation to property crime. I'm just going to begin with a little update of who we are at Hinton RCMP. So we're comprised of 22 regular members of the RCMP. That means police officers. We have a general investigation section, which is like a plainclothes unit. We have 5 wonderful support staff who keep our detachment running administratively. And we also are supported by Hinton Victim Services Unit. These are made up of volunteers and paid employees who support victims of crime. And we, of course, police the town of Hinton, the county of Yellowhead, rural Catamount, all the way down to about the Ruby Falls area and east towards Obed. So right now we are fully staffed except for our detachment commander position. Now that position has been identified. That's going to be a Staff Sergeant Shiloh Fragamini, who's coming in from Grand Prairie. She's been transferred, she's just not here yet. And the other vacant position we have is a corporal who just departed to Iqaluit. And we'll be running a competition to fill that as well. So I'm just going to move right into our priority updates, just tell you where we're at the midway point of the year. And then I look forward, most importantly, to answering any questions that you may have for us, as we're your police service, and we want to engage and answer any questions you may have. And that's the most important part of this evening, is hearing from you, our residents. So priority 1 this year for the Hinton RCMP, as identified in conjunction with the community, is traffic safer roads. And our objective to this was to reduce traffic collisions by 10% this year. Where we're at now, in the summer in Q2, we saw a high increase. In the town of Yellowhead, in the town of Hinton, we saw about a 36% increase in collisions. We had a massive influx of visitors and tourists this summer. This coincided with the Alberta Open for Summer plan. Unlike last year, visitor levels, traveler levels were a little low. This year, they were quite high. We noticed a stark increase of visitors into town. That resulting increase in traffic volume led to an increase in collisions, both in town and on our highways. So we had an increase primarily in July and August in the town of Hinton of about 36%. However, in Yellowhead County, we were down 13%, which is a positive thing. Overall now for Hinton, we're now stabilized as a result of entering the fall season, and we've actually decreased collisions by 3%. Our members continue to focus on traffic education, safety, and enforcement. This remains one of the priorities of your Hinton RCMP. We were a little limited in the last year as well with being able to conduct check stops and various traffic operations because of the public health pandemic. However, those have now resumed as well. And Hinton Detachment makes it a priority of conducting these check stops monthly with us, our partners in the town of Hinton, the county of Yellowhead, as well as the full-time RCMP integrated traffic units that come from Edson and Capital West outside of Edmonton. So we definitely continue to focus on that. And we also have and want to ensure prevention and safe driving. So we have something called the Traffic Safety Working Group that's spearheaded by one of our constables. who meets with our various partners in the community to identify problem issues, problem intersections, what have you, various unsafe driving practices or specific areas. What they do is try to mitigate those, whether that be through advocacy to perhaps changing an intersection to focusing on enforcement in specific areas, and working collaboratively to try and reduce whatever the unsafe issue would be. And our partners are so very key. I want to acknowledge all our provincial partners, whether that be the government of Alberta or the town of Hinton, County of Yellowhead. They've partnered with us on all of our long weekend operations throughout the summer in regards to focusing and emphasizing traffic safety. And we had operations going this year on the Canada Day long weekend, the Civic Holiday long weekend, Labor Day and Thanksgiving Day. We focused on ensuring safe driving practices on those heavy traffic volume weekends, and they were so vital at that. So we're looking positive as we enter Q3 in the last half of the year. As I mentioned, traffic collisions are down in Hinton and especially down in Yellowhead County, and we plan on hopefully keeping it that way and driving home that point of safe driving wherever motorists may be in town and in the county. So our next priority that was identified at the start of this year in consultation with our communities was crime reduction, specifically crime reduction of theft, property theft. And our goal is to reduce theft by 10% from last year. In Yellowhead County, very positive. It's down about 35%, which is great. In the town of Hinton, we had a stark increase in the first 2 weeks of August, specifically from about 5 individuals who went on a bit of a spree, and that caused about a 26% increase in thefts in Q2. That has now since stabilized. We're down to about a 10% increase. And I'll just give a little background of that. We had about 5 individuals in the first 2 weeks of August committing a rash of offenses. Hinton detachment members are steadfast in identifying who these individuals were, conducting thorough solid investigations, laying multiple charges, and ensuring these offenders were accounted for their actions. Unfortunately, a few of these individuals were released on bail. It took several times. They were let go a few times. Hinton RCMP continued to be on these individuals, conducting whatever conditions, checks that the bail system had imposed on these individuals to relentlessly ensure that they follow these conditions. And if they were committing further offenses, they were to be held to account. Ultimately, this group of offenders was removed from the community about mid-August. And since that point, we've seen a leveling off in those offenses in the town of Hinton. And what we are focusing on as we go forward in the last half of this year is our continued focus on strategic intelligence-led policing. And that's a holistic approach of enforcement and crime prevention. We identify who our prolific offenders are when it relates to crime prevention of theft and these offenses. We use intelligence analysis and information to identify where these crimes are occurring in the known hotspots in the community, the town of Hinton, both Valley District, Hill District, as well as the county of Yellowhead and our rural areas. And what we do is it just ensures our members can focus on smart policing when they head out the door and they're leaving the parking lot, that they know historically where these offenses occur to try and mitigate and prevent that crime, and also to make public awareness and education, tips of how to keep your property and your items safe. For instance, our goal this year is to conduct 150 condition checks on problem offenders. And as of the end of Q2, we've exceeded that. We've conducted 242 of these checks going forward. And part of that information leads to prolonged investigations, which enable us to conduct search warrants. Very positively, as of this broadcast tonight, we've conducted 6 search warrants. And this has resulted in the seizures of significant quantities of illegal drugs, cash, stolen property, weapons, and other illicit proceeds of crime. And we So hand in hand with that enforcement is, of course, as I mentioned, crime prevention. We want to help inform the community and residents so they can keep their property and themselves safe. A little later, Corporal Ryan Jurgens will be speaking further about some of the initiatives that his unit, the plainclothes police, the Hinton RCMP, have undertaken in that regard. And he's going to also be talking about some property crime prevention tips. One highlight is in that regard is we've been focusing on something called the bike index registry to help further the prevention of that type of property crime. So there's a website, it's called bikeindex.org. It's a very simple technique. How that works is you can submit the bike's name, the bike manufacturer, serial number, component information. You can enter your bike on that registry. What it does is anybody on that registry, for instance, we have a local business, Vicious Cycle, taking part and advocating on this for anybody that comes into that store. As if your bike was missing or it's marked as lost or stolen, it notifies the entire bike index community. Anybody signed up on that registry and its partners, you get an alert. What it does is if anybody encounters that bike, it will identify and contact you, and we can help and recover stolen bikes in that regard. And in fact, that's already worked, and we've seen that in action in the town of Hinton since we've been promoting that. So that's just a positive thing for anybody that wants to get on that as a bike owner. It definitely can help make a difference. And our last priority identified with the community this year for the Hinton RCMP was police community relations, and that's the visibility police. That means we want to be out in the community, being active with our residents, participating in community events, and really being a part of the community, because that's vital, and we believe in it so strongly that we were part of Hinton and Yellowhead County. The last year was a little bit challenging with the public health pandemic and restrictions. In 2020, we couldn't quite do as many of the events. A lot of them were postponed that we would normally do. We couldn't quite get into the schools as much as we normally would have. I'm pleased to say in 2021, that's changed with added levels of protection. And as the health pandemic has moved forward, we've been able to greatly increase and get back into what we had done in the past in the community in Hinton and Yellowhead County. As of tonight, Hinton members have either participated in over 72 different meetings, events, community fairs, whatnot, in both Hinton and Yellowhead County. We make it a priority in the town of Hinton to be visible every week on foot, because it's such a great way to interact and mingle with our residents. You get a different connection when you see a police officer out on the street walking in your town versus just driving by in a car. And our members value that, and they appreciate that interaction so much. So every week, you'll see us in various spots in both the Hinton Hill and Valley districts, which has been great. And a lot of these too, as I mentioned earlier, are not just visibility, but they're based strategically on property crime, hotspot intelligence. We like to be, and we want to be out and seeing where some of our problems have been in the past. And that's just such a key in our holistic crime reduction strategy. Further to that, we have members assigned in the interaction part to every school in Hinton, and members are encouraged here to not to go into each school, get to be known, not just to conduct prevention talks, what have you, which members have done for dating, safety, and bullying and healthy relationships. But also just to get out and do little things, be out in the field at recess, just interact and mingle with our youth. It's just so important and so key, and the members value it greatly, just getting that interaction, that healthy relationship with our youth. So I'm pleased to say that this school year we've been in all of our schools each and every week, which is just so key. Hinton members this quarter participated in Canada Day events, National Indigenous Day events, the Family Wellness Fair that was held in Green Square in Hinton, the Autumn Festival, as well as National Day for Truth and Reconciliation events held at schools, and other events at the Hinton Friendship Center. So maintaining and continuing to build on these positive relationships we have with our residents in the community is so vital to us at Hinton Detachment. And just a little bit on the rural side in County Yellowhead, rural visibility is also one of our priorities. So we identified a target to conduct 300 Yellowhead County patrols this year. And as of this session tonight, we've conducted 709, and we'll continue to be visible throughout all parts of Yellowhead County as the latter half of the year goes on. It's a really great model that we have used for the long weekends, as I mentioned earlier. There's a multi-agency initiative approach, and that's a prevention, safe prevention and enforcement approach to some of our popular tourist areas, especially in the summer, where we see a high increase in visitors and tourists, and that's in places such as Cadam and Ruby Falls, which has seen a really high increase in visitors. And in that rural sand dunes, Highway 40 North camping stretch there. So what we do is we partner with Alberta Conservation, County of Yellowhead, Alberta Environment, to name a few other of our partner agencies. And what we do is we go into integrated teams with Hinton RCMP and our various partners, and we go into these areas, and it's to ensure a safe weekend is had by all visitors. They can enjoy the land appropriately, safely, and in the end, that's our goal. So what we do is our teams go in, we make ourselves, our presence known, and just mingle and interact with land users to ensure they're, for instance, ATVing safely, that they're camping lawfully, that no impaired driving, other illegal acts are being committed. We've conducted several of these this year. It's just been so key. And one of them, in fact, was for the first time in several years, we conducted an Athabasca River boat patrol, which had not been done in quite a while, as I mentioned. That just was able to have a member and a partner from the province to just go and be visible and ensure safe boating in the area, which is so key. And we'll continue to utilize that model, not just on long weekends, but anytime going forward. Our partnerships, as I mentioned earlier, are just, again, so key. I want to thank our partners at the County of Yellowhead, Town of Hinton, and all of our partners in the government of Alberta who make those weekends such a success. I am going to now switch things up a little bit and bring in our newest RCMP member here into detachment. His name is Constable Andrew Ringrose. He started in Hinton almost 2 months ago now. He's a valued member of our team. We're happy to have him here, and I'm just going to have Andrew come in and say a few words about how he ended up in Hinton, how he ended up with the RCMP, and his new role in the community.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant Gursky. Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm the newest member of Hinton RCMP. Proud to be in the town of Hinton, and couldn't be happier to where I got my first posting at a depot. To give you a little background on myself, so originally from Ontario. I've been in Alberta for 7 years now, and was living in the Stony Plain area. Had traveled through Hinton a lot, traveling to Jasper or recreating in the outdoors that surround the Hinton area. And like many people, we work to accommodate our lifestyles and our hobbies. And I've been fortunate enough now to get a career with RCMP and can be happy with what I do and where I live. So couldn't be happier to where I am. So yeah, what else? Just want to talk about how awesome the detachment is, how many good support factors are there. And yeah, don't ever hesitate if you see me in uniform or out of uniform to come up and say hello. It's a pretty amazing community here, and I look forward to serving everyone and speaking with you more. Unfortunately, not on Zoom, but yeah. Any questions, feel free to ask. Perfect. All right, good night.
Thanks, Andrew. Really appreciate you taking the time tonight on your shift to come and speak with the community about that. And before I turn things over to Corporal Ryan Jurgens of Hinton GIS, Sunday is Halloween. I just want to mention some Halloween safety tips for the community here to keep everybody safe and so that everybody can have a fun night. Whether you're a homeowner or most importantly, trick-or-treaters. So I'm just going to go over some Halloween safety tips for everybody. And for the trick-or-treaters out there, just some good points here. So never trick-or-treat alone, always walk with a parent, guardian, or responsible adult. And if you're with a friend, stick to your group. Tell your parents or guardian where you plan on trick-or-treating and when you'll be home, what time, what area you're gonna go to. Carry your cell phone with you, and preferably stick to small groups. It's a good idea to have a flashlight with you. It can be dark on Halloween evening at night. It's never a bad idea to carry a flashlight with you. It increases your visibility if need be, if you're in the dark. And of course, when you're out trick-or-treating, you want to play it safe. Cross the street at marked crosswalks and intersections. Especially in this time of COVID, you want to stay in small groups and leave space between you and ensure distancing. And preferably to trick-or-treat with your household if at all possible. You want to watch out for cars pulling it out of driveways and backing up. Respect others' property. Use pathways, sidewalks. Don't eat any treats or any of the candy until you get home, until your parents can inspect them, make sure you're safe and that you're eating good treats that you got out during the night. Importantly, with the times that we're in now, to wash your hands, use hand sanitizer often. Respect the homes that are not lit up, that are dark. Because unfortunately, some people don't participate. You don't want to disturb those residents. And for costumes that you might wear, just some good points here. Make sure you're visible in the darkness. Some costumes I know can be fun, and they have some fake weapons, but they should be identifiable as imitation. You never want to be in a situation where you're in the dark and you might have something that looks like a real weapon. You want to wear reflective, bright colored costumes if at all possible, or fasten reflective tape to your costume bag. Dress to weather conditions. It's Alberta. We never know what the weather might be that evening. If it's looking like it might get cold or snow, you want to be prepared for that. And if at all possible, try wearing a mask, like I said, to be safe. And in these times of COVID, you want to ensure your health and safety. For motorists out there on Halloween night, Halloween means there'll be lots of children on the streets, more so than usual, of course. So please exercise extra caution. Many youth and children get excited with Halloween, and obviously they're excited to be out and about trick-or-treating. It's a fun night. It happens once a year. So some kids may forget pedestrian safety rules. So just be cognizant of that when you're out in the roads this year on that night. Drive slowly in residential areas where children are more likely to be trick-or-treating. You want to reduce your speed and stay alert. Please slow down, as I mentioned. Proceed with caution when entering and exiting driveways or backing up. And in general, if you see something odd, say something. While you're out in your neighborhood, keep an eye out on criminal or suspicious activity and report that to us, the Hinton RCMP. And I can assure you that our members will be out and about during the evening and all night long on Halloween, keeping trick-or-treaters, motorists, homeowners safe. If you see something odd or something out of place, please call Hinton RCMP, let us know. One last point for homeowners on Halloween, very similar line. If you see suspicious activity, please call Hinton RCMP. Make sure your pets are safe and secure indoors for that evening. I know some pets, my dog, for instance, gets really excited and antsy. It's not his favorite night of the year. So you want to keep them secure so that they don't leap out on Halloween night. And if at all possible, with the COVID times, you want to wear a mask, and if at all possible, leave a bowl out with the candy, or use some kind of distancing like tongs or baking sheet to hand it out this year, just to keep that kind of distance approach, keep everybody safe in these times of COVID-19. So those are just some general tips for everybody on Halloween, as it can be one of the most fun nights of the year, but we want to make sure everybody's safe. And what I'm going to do now is turn this over to our Hinton GIS corporal. That's the Hinton General Investigation Section. They're it's actually two individual. It's Corporal Ryan Jurians. He's the head of that unit, and the second is Constable Katie Conley, and they focus on specific. They're a responsive, almost crime reduction units that can adapt and respond to whatever the needs of the community are at a specific time. And they focus on the plainclothes, more long-term projects and investigations. One of their big focuses this year is property crime prevention, reduction, as well as drug enforcement, and ensuring the community is not a suitable place for that type of activity. And we don't want that activity to take place in Hinton. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Corporal Rogers to just talk a little bit about his unit and some property crime prevention tips for residents for this year.
Thank you, Sergeant Gursky. For 2 years, I have been leading the Hinton General Investigation Section. We work on drug investigation and serious person crimes, but we will pitch in and help where we can. We are part of the detachment team, and we work hand in hand with the general duty members. Our goal here is to maintain a high level of quality investigations and to minimize the harm and impact that crime has in our community. This year, I've been given the privilege of leading a property crime and theft reduction strategy. We're using group-led enforcement, intervention, and prevention activities to work towards understanding the root causes of crime in Hinton and focusing our efforts towards prolific offenders and hotspots. We've had success, and we remain committed to decreasing criminal activity, minimizing the harm it causes, and utilizing an approach that works best for our community. There are 5 parts to our strategy: the prolific offender initiative, hotspot checks, intelligent-led investigations, condition checks, and education. Most crime is done by a small group of people. The goal of our prolific offender initiative is to work with these people to stop that cycle of offending each month. Based on information from our criminal analyst, detachment members are assigned prolific offenders, and our members engage with these people to encourage them to seek the resources that address their underlying issues, such as mental health and drug addiction. If those participating in the initiative continue their cycle of offending, and this is often because they're not addressing their underlying issues, we continue with conventional law enforcement strategies. Like the prolific offender initiative, hotspots are intelligence-based. Property crime stats are mapped out. Every 2 weeks, these are analyzed. Affected areas are designated hotspots. Detachment members then focus on those areas. The intention is to disrupt the cycle of offending in affected areas. Our intelligence-led investigation initiative is collecting intelligence, nurturing a culture of intelligence gathering and sharing amongst detachment members, and most importantly, to use the information gathered for results. And so far in 2021, we've enjoyed good results from these efforts, drug and property search warrants. And this summer, we did a successful street level drug project that involved a number of targets where we worked with closely with units outside of our detachment. When offenders are facing charges, they're sometimes put on conditions. Condition checks are a vital way for us to prevent further harm to the community. The initiative is to ensure detachment members are aware of their requirements regarding condition checks, that information regarding condition checks are up to date, and to monitor progress and ensure compliance. And the last thing, education. When it comes to crime prevention, we're all in it together. Education and information sharing is important. In part, that's the purpose of this live stream. So what can you do to protect yourself from property crime? Consider that some property crime is a crime of opportunity. Do not leave anything of value or with your personal information in your vehicle. Always lock your car, even in your own driveway. Do not share vacation plans or when you'll be away on social media. Consider getting an alarm, a security system, motion sensor lights, doorbell camera, or timers for internal lights. Secure your business by making sure the doors are locked and alarm system is set at the end of the day. Follow a nightly routine and ask yourself, did you set the alarm? Are all the doors locked? And if you own a business, are valuables moved away from the windows? At the end of the season, when winterizing or locking up your cabin, RV, or travel trailer, take home all your valuables. Turn on lights to keep property well lit and keep your property well maintained so it does not look abandoned. And just a last word to express my gratitude to be here, and a quick word on Hinton. I'm proud to call Hinton home. Like so many of my other coworkers, I feel very grateful to be part of such a vibrant and welcoming community. I grew up in a small town in Saskatchewan where neighbors looked after each other. And so to tie that into property crime and theft reduction, our strategy, I feel honored towards working towards that value set. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Ryan, for that information and presentation to the community. I'm just going to continue on actually with a point, relevant point in today's world of being everything so digital. A lot of people working from home, working remotely. So much of our activity nowadays is online. And that is that October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And that's a month where we just focus on ensuring community residents are safe with their online activities. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of points, how you can protect yourself while online. Because oftentimes, unfortunately, criminals take advantage of that new world of digital and online crime and fraud, and there's so many different types of scams out there. The Rcmp, for one, understands that cybercrime investigations are complex and technical in nature, and they require us to have a strong domestic and international partners, and that includes specialized investigative skills, advanced tools, and techniques. We, of course, at the Rcmp take cybercrime seriously, and we want to protect the residents of Hinton and Yellowhead County when online. We have a few organizations that we partner with, and that's I'm just going to highlight a couple right now. That's the National Cybercrime Coordination Unit. We have Rcmp Federal Policing Cybercrime. We have Cyber Capability Specialists. That's what their special technical role is in federal policing, the Rcmp, and they assist us here at the detachment level in Hinton. We also partner with an organization called the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. So we work closely with these law enforcement partners and other lead security agencies, both private and public sector organizations in Canada and abroad to address cybercrime. Just a couple of tips for everybody when you're online to ensure your cyber health. And I'm just going to read a couple here. And that's if you receive unsolicited emails, phone calls, or texts, especially related to COVID-19, be suspicious. Don't click on any suspicious links or attachments in your emails or texts. As oftentimes that's going to link up to some type of scam and fraud. And once you click that link, these offenders are in your system. You oftentimes have no control over what they're doing. Don't be pressured into providing personal information or money while online. You can often verify if something is or some group is legitimate, whether that be an individual, company, or charity. Go to their website, check it out. If something often seems too good to be true, it usually is online. just a reminder to the Government of Canada or the RCMP, we don't request personal information by email or text or send unsolicited emails asking you to click on links to access a service or to confirm your information. Another good, really general tip is just to create a strong password or passphrase. It contains letters, numbers, or symbols when you're creating passwords for your accounts. You want to use different passwords for various web accounts. If you're using the same one, it unfortunately weakens your security from these predators. And you want to secure your social media accounts by reviewing the privacy settings when you're on those websites. Protect your Wi-Fi with a password and don't share with anyone outside of your household. And lastly on this, if you do happen to have occurrence of cybercrime or fraud, it's very important to report it. This is a crime that's often underreported in Canada, but we need to know about it. And you can do that by calling us, the Hinton RCMP. You can also go to the Anti-Fraud Center. That's the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center website, and that's antifraudcenter.ca. And they have various ways you can easily report that online. And we work with them to identify trends and where that goes online with what criminals are doing is they're constantly evolving, and we as the police need to evolve with them. So your reports are vital for that regard. And one other very important point as we head into November from October. November's Family Violence Awareness Month. Alberta actually has a higher rate of family violence than other provinces, and this is something that we take seriously. One positive sign is in Hinton. Our family violence rates are actually down about 26% this year, which is great, and we wanted to continue that trend. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things in relation to intimate partner violence, and it could take many forms. That can be physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, neglect, or sexual abuse in the form of an intimate partner relationship. And there are some warning signs if you have a family member or a friend. If you notice some of these things, they may be a sign of intimate partner violence. If you notice somebody suddenly has, for instance, unexplained bruises or questionable explanations for injuries, if they're starting to act differently around you or when their partner's around, for instance, they don't speak up when you're in a social setting, when their partner's there, they try to change the subject, for instance, if they're questioned about their partner's behavior, or they seem to be controlled by their partner and seem reluctant to make decisions by themselves. If they seem withdrawn than their normal behavior around you, your friends or family, if they're having an uncharacteristic change in risk-taking behavior, for instance, you're noticing somebody is suddenly consuming a heavier amount of alcohol or drug, you notice a drop in schoolwork performance, or if you're noticing, for instance, when you're chatting with a friend that they're frequently being contacted by a partner, wanting to know where they are, what they're doing. These are all signs, warning signs that somebody may be in an abusive relationship. And that can have a drastic effect, obviously, not only on that person, but on Hinton and Alberta society at large. So we, of course, in the RCMP have a mandate to enforce the law, and we also support education and prevention initiatives that focus on intimate partner violence. We engage with victims, survivors, and support the rehabilitation of offenders when they're brought to us. And we collaborate with our other partner agencies in the community, social organizations, healthcare, and other professionals to ensure victims and survivors are referred to appropriate supports and that they continue to receive appropriate supports after they've engaged with us. And if you are, in fact, a victim or survivor, no, it's not your fault. You're not alone. Call 911 or Hinton RCMP for your safety or that of your children. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Confide in someone you trust. And you can also seek support here from local crisis lines, the women's shelter. There you can go to a religious or Indigenous Friendship Center, your doctor. There's Hinton Victim Services, legal counseling, or health centers. Talk to them and make sure you reach out if you're in that situation and know you can be trusted, and we will support and help you the whole way through. And I'm just kind of highlight a couple of things that Hinton RCMP has done to work with their partners in the community in that regards. We are partnering in the implementation of something called the Rural Mental Health Initiative for Hinton and Yellowhead County. What that is a public education awareness to promote positive mental health. And an aspect of this is to prevent family violence. And you'll soon be seeing this in the form of online materials as well as advertisements about information, how you can keep yourself safe and ensure positive mental health. We, this past summer, signed a new protocol agreement between Hinton RCMP and the Yellowhead Emergency Shelter for Women Society. And it formalizes our working relationship and our operational procedures between the Hinton RCMP and that society. And the goal, of course, is to better assist our vulnerable members in the community in a positive, collaborative way, which will enhance our ability to further prevent family violence. And we have a liaison, her name is Constable Michelle with that society, and she's done a really great job in carrying that positive relationship forward and furthering our goal in that regard. And as I mentioned earlier in this presentation, on August 18th, we participated in a Hinton Wellness Fair, and that just provided an outlet for several community organizations, including Hinton Victims Support and Services Unit, which provided information about outreach prevention to residents in Hinton, Yellowhead County. It was just a positive way to get that information out, yet have a fun time for residents who were at Green Square on August 18th. And lastly, our members ensure that this information is getting out at a young age for a younger segment of the population. So when our members are in Harry College and Gerard Redmond, we're ensuring that we have chats with the designated member with high school students about healthy relationships, healthy dating, online safety, and cyberbullying, because oftentimes some of these things can be prevented at the younger age. And in that segment, it's so important that they start out and understanding and knowing what a healthy, positive relationship is. And I'm just going to talk about one other point here before we wrap things up for the evening. And that is Rcmp Careers. Now is a really great time if you're interested in being a police officer with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. We're looking for a high number of new police officers. Now could not be a better time. There are online virtual career presentations occurring as soon as November 1st. Is actually Visible Minority Perspective virtual career presentation in Edmonton, followed by a regular virtual career presentation Wednesday, November 3rd, hosted in Edmonton. If you go online to Rcmp Careers, you can sign yourself up. You can get a little bit of background about what this job entails. And it's not just a job, it's a career of a way of life, about being a part of your community, getting really some second to none training experiences and seeing and serving your country at the same time. You can get the ball rolling by going to the Rcmp Careers website on rcmp.ca and see what basic requirements you need to be an RCMP officer. You can see the steps it takes to apply to get to Depot, which is our training facility in Regina. And then you can see the application link on there as well. And like I said, couldn't be a better time. Police agencies across the country are looking to hire, and their RCMP needs roughly 1,000 new recruits going forward this next year. So if you're at all interested, go online. If you live in Hinton or Yellowhead County, and I've had some individuals come and speak with me personally, feel free, come to the detachment. I will I'd be willing to speak with anybody that's interested in a career with the RCMP. I'll talk with you. We can get you set up on a ride and just experience some of the positive aspects of this job and what it entails. That essentially wraps up the mid-year Hinton RCMP Town Hall, just to provide the residents of Hinton and Yellowhead County with an update of where we're at roughly halfway through the year of our community priority objectives that were identified with you, our residents in the communities of Hinton and Yellowhead County. Don't hesitate to, if you have any questions, if you want any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at that Hinton email address, or give us a call. Myself, Corporal Ryan Jurgens, or any of our management team, or any constable for that matter, would be willing to speak. And we always want to hear from you and engage with you. So it doesn't just end here tonight. We're going to continue going forward with these malls. We thoroughly enjoy holding these town halls. Hopefully we'll be at a point where we can resume these in person. And we look forward to continuing to engage with our communities and finishing the year strong with our strategic crime reduction plan to keep the communities safe and produce results for the town of Hinton and Yellowhead County. And we'll continue to be there and engage with you going forward. So please don't hesitate to ever get a hold of us. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for viewing tonight. I want to thank Corporal Ryan Jurgens, Constable Andrew Ringrose, for spending time here tonight. And you, most importantly, the residents of Hinton and Yellowhead County, thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight, and have a good rest of your evening.